When NASA first launched Opportunity, no one expected it to become a legend. A mission meant to last just 90 Martian days would go on to defy time, pushing the limits of science and survival on an alien world.
Bypass across the board, Scooter, no action.
This is the story of a robot that refused to give up. Opportunity was supposed to be temporary. Just 90 souls. That's 90 Martian days. A little over 90 Earth days was the plan. Its job: to explore a small patch of Mars, study its rocks, and report back with whatever limited data it could gather before the planet's harsh environment broke it down. But Opportunity had other ideas. Launched in 2003 and landing on Mars in January 2004, Opportunity soon proved to be more than just a rover. It became a resilient explorer. Designed to survive for 3 months, it ultimately functioned for nearly 15 years. Over 5,000 souls, from 2004 to 2019. It endured everything Mars could throw at it. Freezing winters, dust storms that blotted out the sun, mechanical wear, and failing instruments. Yet it pressed on. And through that incredible longevity, it gave us a front row seat to the red planet's secret past. Before we reach the final steps of this remarkable mission, let's look back and retrace the journey that made Opportunity one of humanity's greatest robotic explorers. Opportunity touched down in a small, shallow crater known as Eagle Crater, and from its very first images, it was clear this place was special. The soil was finely layered, and the rocks displayed signs of past interactions with water. Scientists were immediately intrigued, because here, on a distant world, was the first real evidence that water had once flowed on Mars. As days turned into weeks and weeks into months, Opportunity roved across the vast, flat expanse of the Meridiani Plains. This region, once chosen for its relative safety, proved to be a treasure trove of Martian history. The robot studied hematite-rich blueberries, tiny spheres that suggested the presence of water long ago. It examined sedimentary layers in exposed outcrops, and it kept moving, mission after mission. Opportunity ventured further from its landing site, surviving against all odds. Its wheels weathered the abrasive Martian dust. Its joints stiffened in the cold, and its solar panels dimmed with every passing storm. Still, it pressed on. By the Martian year 2014, 10 Earth years after landing, Opportunity had crossed roughly 3,800 souls. It was no longer just a machine. It was a veteran explorer, one that had accomplished far more than its engineers ever imagined. Its next target, Cape Tribulation. This towering ridge formed part of the rim of Endeavour Crater, a vast impact site measuring 22 kilometers across. Climbing to the summit of Cape Tribulation was no easy feat. The terrain was uneven, and the journey took time. But when Opportunity finally reached the top on Sol 3894, it was greeted with one of the most breathtaking views ever captured on Mars. There, stretched out before it, was the massive Endeavour Crater. Its floor was coated with wind-blown dunes, and its rim was weathered but still majestic, rising above the surrounding plains. It was the kind of sight that made even the most hardened scientists pause. But Opportunity didn't stop there. Just beyond Cape Tribulation lay Marathon Valley, a name given not just for its geography, but for a milestone. As the rover entered this valley, it had officially driven more than the length of a marathon 42 kilometers, or 26.2 miles. NASA's mission team even celebrated the achievement with a relay marathon back on Earth, using a life-sized model of the rover, a charming tribute to a machine that kept on going. But Marathon Valley held more than symbolic value. It was believed to contain clay minerals, ancient signatures of water, and perhaps even life. To reach it, Opportunity had to descend the steepest slope of its mission, yet a daunting 32 degrees. The slope was so severe that built-up Martian dust began to slide off its solar panels, a rare stroke of luck that improved its energy intake. Once inside, Opportunity began exploring new regions, one of them being the Spirit of St. Louis crater. It was here, however, that problems started to become more frequent. Its onboard computer began resetting. Engineers traced the issue to a failing flash memory cell. At first, they reformatted the memory. Then they quarantined the faulty section, but the problems persisted. Eventually, the team made a bold decision. They bypassed flash memory entirely and operated the rover in RAM-only mode. It was risky. If the rover lost power or rebooted, all data not sent to Earth would be lost. But the choice worked. The reset slowed down and the mission continued. Marathon Valley was more than just a scenic detour. It represented a scientific goldmine, and Opportunity was determined to uncover its secrets. Mission controllers had detected clays in this region from orbit using instruments aboard the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. These clays, found in the reddish hues of the valley's ridges, pointed to a time when Mars may have supported stable, neutral pH water, an environment potentially suitable for life. Opportunity's goal was clear: get up close, analyze the rocks, and confirm what orbiters could only hint at. Two prominent ridges marked the valley, Hinner's Point to the north and Knudsen Ridge to the south. These became focal points for Opportunity's study. The rocks it encountered there were unlike anything it had seen before. They were softer, more brittle, and had a very different composition compared to other regions. Many crumbled easily under the rover's instruments, making analysis difficult. Yet it was these very anomalies that fascinated scientists most. Mars was revealing new layers of its past. But the rover was slowing down not just in pace, but in capability. Its alpha particle, X-ray spectrometer, once able to deliver sample readings in minutes, now took days. The degradation of this tool meant that every rock required more time and effort. Combined with its unreliable memory and aging hardware, every sol became a test of patience and resilience. What should have taken a few months turned into more than a year. Still, Opportunity pressed on deeper into the ancient crater rim. And there, in the vastness of Endeavour Crater, something rare happened: a dust devil. These twisting Martian whirlwinds had occasionally been spotted by Opportunity's twin Spirit, but Opportunity itself had rarely seen them. This sighting was exciting, and more than just a novelty. It was believed that such dust devils helped clean the rover's solar panels from time to time, extending its life by restoring precious energy flow. Eventually, Opportunity set its sights on a new objective, a mysterious gully further to the south. This feature was of immense scientific interest. No rover had ever examined a Martian gully up close before, and scientists wondered, was this gully carved by ancient water, ice wind? The terrain was treacherous. Opportunity had to descend through the Lewis and Clark Gap, navigate down Bitterroot Valley, and make its way toward a place called Spirit Mound. Along the way, the rover captured sweeping panoramas of Mars' haunting beauty, layers of dusty ridges, vast sand dunes, and distant crater walls. By the time it reached Spirit Mound, Opportunity had been on Mars for over 500 sols. That's roughly 12 Earth years. And against all odds, it was still in working condition. Despite the countless challenges it had faced, it was producing a stable 450 watts of power, enough to keep going. It made several stops to conduct atmospheric studies and rock imaging. Eventually, in September 2017, Opportunity arrived at the gully. The team named it Perseverance Valley, a fitting tribute to the rover's relentless journey. Scientists hoped the valley would provide conclusive evidence of liquid water flow. Its shape suggested movement erosion and deposition processes we associate with water on Earth. Opportunity found rocks lining the gully's narrow channels. Could these have been transported by flowing water? Possibly. But once again, Mars refused to yield easy answers. After months of study, the evidence remained inconclusive. The valley was ancient and enigmatic, and its secrets stayed mostly hidden. Still, Opportunity pressed onward, and on Sol 5000, a staggering milestone, it celebrated by taking its first and only full selfie. Using the tiny fixed-focus microscopic imager on its robotic arm, it created a composite image. The result was blurry, yes, but deeply symbolic. A quiet portrait of a weary explorer on foreign soil. By early 2018, Opportunity was still performing admirably. It was traversing the rim of Endeavour Crater, pausing now and then to scan the Martian sky, take rock measurements, and continue its quiet mission. But as spring turned to summer in Mars' southern hemisphere, a familiar threat began to brew in the atmosphere. It started, like many others, just another local dust storm. Mars had seen them before. Opportunity had survived a particularly bad one back in 2007. So when the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter spotted signs of a new storm in early June, the mission team prepared for reduced sunlight and lower power levels just like they had before. On June 3, 2018, Opportunity was generating 468 watts from its solar panels. By June 4th, this had dropped to 345 watts. On June 6th, just 2 days later, it had fallen even further to a dire 133 watts. The dust had choked the skies so much that sunlight barely reached the rover. Still, this wasn't unprecedented. Back in 2007, the tau value, a measure of atmospheric opacity, had peaked at 5.5s. That storm had almost been fatal. But this storm reached a tau of 10.8, nearly double, and that was catastrophic. Opportunity's survival depended on one thing: the sun. Without sunlight, its solar panels couldn't charge its batteries, and without energy, it couldn't stay warm. So the mission team made a difficult call. They ordered the rover into hibernation mode. All science operations stopped. Only basic health reports would be sent twice a day if Opportunity had enough power to do even that. On June 12th, the final transmission arrived. After that, there was only silence. The storm raged on for weeks. The entire planet was eventually swallowed in darkness. An Opportunity, somewhere inside Perseverance Valley, sat motionless in the dust. July passed. Then an August. By September, the skies were clearing. The dust began to thin and light returned to Mars. Scientists hoped Opportunity would awaken groggy perhaps, but alive. But there was nothing. NASA sent commands daily. Nothing came back. Hundreds of attempts were made. Then thousands. They hoped maybe the panels were just too dusty and a wind might clean them off, as had happened before. But no cleaning event came. By February 2019, the total number of contact attempts had reached over 1,000. NASA had no choice but to face the inevitable. On February 13, 2019, they declared the Opportunity mission complete. Its final sol on Mars was number 51 Momas, or June 10, 2018. After over 15 Earth years, or 5 to 352 Martian sols, the little rover that was only supposed to last 90 sols had finally gone silent. And yet what a legacy it left behind. Opportunity had done far more than just drive across alien terrain. It had confirmed the existence of ancient water. It had measured the composition of Martian rocks, studied weather patterns, captured stunning panoramic images, and even witnessed Martian dust devils. Its instruments had aged. Its memory had failed. But its spirit never broke. And just before losing contact, it had begun sending back one last panorama, a haunting final image of its surroundings, a landscape bathed in red dust under a darkened sky. That image, along with its poetic last message, "My battery is low and it's getting dark," resonated deeply with the world. When the news broke that Opportunity had been declared dead, it hit harder than many expected. For a robot that had never spoken a word, never taken a step, and never even left its perch on Mars, Opportunity had managed to become something deeply human to us. This was more than just a machine. It had endured. It had struggled. It had fought through harsh winters, blinding dust storms, memory failures, and aging equipment. And it had kept going for over 15 years. In the cold silence of another planet, Opportunity had been a voice of discovery, whispering back secrets of a distant world, one sol at a time. Through its eyes, we saw Mars not as a dead rock, but as a planet with a past one that once had water, possibly even conditions for life. It confirmed that Mars had stable, long-standing bodies of liquid water in its ancient history. This discovery was, and still is, one of the most profound in planetary science. It changed our understanding of Mars forever. Opportunity also became a symbol of endurance, of human ingenuity, of how something small, designed for a short-term job, could rise to meet a challenge far greater than itself. It showed us what's possible when we dare to explore the unknown, when we build not just to succeed, but to survive, adapt, and discover. An Opportunity didn't just teach us about Mars. It taught us something about ourselves. It reminded us that exploration isn't easy, that progress isn't always fast, that sometimes the greatest victories come not from flashy breakthroughs, but from quiet, relentless perseverance. As we look to the future, with new rovers like Perseverance exploring Mars and missions planned for sample returns, and eventually human footsteps on Martian soil, we do so standing on the dusty tracks left behind by opportunity. Its journey paved the way. Its mission inspired a new generation of scientists, engineers, and dreamers. And maybe, just maybe someday, someone will walk through Perseverance Valley and find opportunity still there, resting quietly beneath the Martian sky. A monument not of metal and wire, but of hope, dedication, and the power of never giving up. So farewell. Opportunity, you went far beyond your mission. You exceeded every expectation. And you reminded us that sometimes the smallest explorers leave the biggest legacy. Thanks for watching. And to Opportunity, thank you for everything.